When Queen Elizabeth I reigned in England for the majority of Shakespeare's lifetime, a hallmark of her image and reputation was that she was a virgin. This may seem countercultural to you since monarchs are supposed to produce an heir. So, why did Elizabeth I buck the trend? Let's find out right now on That Shakespeare Life. Given that the royal lineage is so important not only in England, but in all monarchical governments, and that literal wars have been fought over the rightful heir to the throne, it is definitely a challenge to the status quo that Elizabeth not only did not produce an heir, but intentionally chose not to do so. In order to find out exactly why the infamous Gloriana so staunchly wanted to maintain her image as a virgin queen, I sat down with British historian and author of the book Courting the Virgin Queen, Queen Elizabeth I and her suitors, Carol Ann Lloyd, to find out more. Here's what she had to say.
Well, it's really interesting because at the beginning of her life, Elizabeth became a potential marriage partner. And so even as a young woman, it was very important. Her virginity, her body, and her protection of her body was in a way part of her capital and her power. So early on, while she was living with Catherine Parr, and then Thomas Seymour married Catherine Parr and moved in, there were some questions about what happened between Elizabeth and Thomas Seymour, and Catherine Parr counseled her on that. We know that because of a letter Elizabeth wrote to Catherine Parr that we have, and she acknowledges that her reputation is very important, and she understands that. So from the time she was a young teenager, Elizabeth knew that her virginity was part of her power. She could control that and would have to use all of her wits and all of her abilities to control her reputation surrounding her virginity. That was true throughout her reign. And early on, she was a young queen, obviously a virgin, a marriage prospect. As time went on, and she became, we would never call Queen Elizabeth old, of course, but as her reign went on, and the prospects sort of were fewer and further between, she morphed into this virgin image, which she very carefully cultivated with the use of pearls, as she had two portraits commissioned holding a sieve, which reached back to Petrarch's work on the virgin maidens who were so pure that they could carry water in a sieve, and their purity kept the water in the sieve and no little droplets came out. So Elizabeth cultivated that idea of a virgin queen for herself throughout her life and throughout her reign. It was very important to her that she be seen as untouched and unviolated.
That glimpse into Elizabeth I's identity as the Virgin Queen reveals just how calculated and powerful her image really was. In the full conversation, Carol Ann Lloyd and I explore why Elizabeth never married, what efforts were made to find her a husband, and a truth about her health and fertility. We'll also talk about how she managed to pass the crown on to James I without igniting another war of succession. You can listen wherever you stream your podcasts, or the best place to listen would be at CassidyCash.com/episode 369. There, you'll not only be able to hear our conversation, but you can also find out more about Carol Ann, as well as her book, Courting the Virgin Queen. Patrons of our show can access special extras at that website, which include period paintings and original documents about Elizabeth's reign and about her reputation as the Virgin Queen. Just click the Patreon button on that page to unlock those extras. Again, that URL is CassidyCash.com/episode 369. And if you'd like to go even deeper into Elizabeth's relationship with Shakespeare, as I mentioned, she was queen for most of Shakespeare's life. Don't miss our episode, Did Shakespeare Work for Elizabeth I? That's available somewhere on the screen right now, so you can click that to find out more.